I really hope this is something connected to the guys. That's something connected to the boys. Last year, I had the privilege of creating a video I titled The Wilhide Boys. It was a story of two brothers from Andrews, North Carolina, Robert and Wallace Wilhide. Their story truly begins right here at this very spot. This beautiful hilltop overlooking the mountains of Andrews and right underneath this little hickory tree. There used to be a house that sat there. And it was the house that these boys were born in. Now, just a short distance away, there's another home. And it's the home that they moved into as children and spent much of their formative years growing up. Sometimes when I produce these videos, an individual will reach out and say they have something to add to the story, a little deeper connection, and it's exactly what happened in this video. Somebody reached out and said they were living in the home that the boys grew up in, and they had found some interesting things, and they thought maybe I would want to come see it. Well, guys, that's an opportunity that I am never going to pass up. And so here is their childhood home. It's a beautiful little house. And the inside, as we toured around, it's so well preserved. It's like a little time capsule. Not much has changed over the years, and it's what it looked like when they lived in it. I couldn't help but just feeling a sense of awe as I stood in what was one of their bedrooms and looked out the windows and saw some of the little items that have survived time that we believe belonged to them. Then the homeowner showed me something that was truly special. Something they had found lying in the dusty corner of an attic. And they knew enough of the Wilhide story to know that this might be something special. And so it's barely been touched, been handled very carefully, and I'm thankful for that. Look at this old model airplane. Now, I got to tell you, when I see something like this, my mind immediately begins to wonder, could this have been something that belonged to the Wilhide brothers? Could it have been one of those formative little items that I think we all encounter in our lives, little moments in time that shape who we are and who we will become? This little model airplane, I knew nothing about it, and I needed some help. I didn't want to jump the gun, so I reached out to some friends on Facebook. I knew it was a balsa wood airplane, and so I reached out to the balsa model aircraft constructors on Facebook, and I showed them the picture of what had been found. And guys, this great group of people jumped on the case, and just within a few minutes, they had identified and dated this old model airplane. And it fits right in the timeline. It's a 1939 Corda Wakefield, a really popular flying airplane model. And if you want to watch some great videos, go to YouTube and see these things flying. They probably fly a whole lot further and higher than what you think. 1939, well, Robert and Wallace would have been juniors in high school. We're talking literally just a year or two before they would enter the military, join up with the Marine Corp, and begin flying real planes. Now, that wasn't the only interesting thing that was discovered at this house. The homeowner has a relative that has a metal detector, and believe it or not, he discovered 3 Marine buttons in the yard. Well, guys, I own a metal detector too, and they were gracious enough to let me get out there and look. And it wasn't long before I was turning up things that looked like this. Now, I really got excited when I saw this button. I mean, we're talking about Marine Corps pilots who never came home. Those that laid down their life for this country, that's the definition of a hero in my book. To find a Marine button that belonged to one of them, well, that's the only thing that I really wanted to find in this yard. So this button came out, and I was seeing all sorts of Eagles and Marine insignia on this button, and well, maybe not so much on this first button, but it was a cool little button. It has a crown on it. I think maybe this was just a blazer button of some sort. But I wasn't done, and just shortly after this find, Marine Corps buttons started showing up. I was so excited. Now, I got to tell you, I was a bit confused at first. I was doing a lot of speculating, and there was something about these buttons that just didn't feel normal to me. I have found Marine Corps buttons before, and if you look kind of close in the dirt as I pull some of these buttons out, you may see charcoal. Now, I don't want to speculate anything sort of negative, like they would have been burned intentionally or anything ridiculous like that. But I do think they went through a fire. Maybe they were stored in a building that burned down, or maybe somebody burning trash years later didn't know what was in a box. But these buttons I thought they were Bakelite buttons, and it had me wondering if the time frame for these buttons wasn't off for belonging to the Wilhide boys. But pretty soon after cleaning them up, I noticed that the black surface tarnish, it flaked off and revealed the metal. And the back mark on these things, most of the buttons that I found said superior quality. That's all the back mark said. I'm used to seeing the old Waterbury button company from Connecticut. And actually, the last button that I found was a Waterbury button. But all of these come from the right time frame. These are World War II era Marine buttons. And with the first 3 that were found by the other detectorist, and now I have found 2 of the larger ones and 1 smaller one. I did some research and looked at Marine Corps dress uniforms, and depending on which photograph you look at, I saw that those uniforms have between 6 and 7 buttons. So we almost have a complete set. There you can see the back mark on that one. This middle one here is the Waterbury button, and it is, I got to tell you, it's just a better quality button in my opinion. But I might be a little biased there. I just can't describe to you the feeling that I had finding these buttons and knowing who they belonged to. Family lived in this home for years after the Wilhide boys passed away in May and June of 1945. Both brothers were shot down, and their bodies were never recovered. Their mother had a headstone, a little memorial erected in a local cemetery. And if you take time to watch that first video, you'll see that a rather new memorial has popped up to honor their memory, which just tickled me to death. But I never dreamed that I'd actually get to lay my hands on something that belonged to these 2 incredible individuals. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to be able to lay hands on real live history. And I'm grateful to be able to do my part to tell their story, preserve their memory. They deserve it.